Global temperatures have been rising at an alarming rate in recent years, which has led to worries about the growing climate disaster and these terrible circumstances. The world has continuously benefited from the consistent message from one well-known voice about the impending threat and the pressing need for action. In what appears to be his final and most urgent warning, Elon Musk, a visionary entrepreneur and innovator, lays out the stark reality of record-breaking global temperatures and the catastrophic consequences humanity faces if immediate action is not taken. Welcome back to another exciting video. Today's video is about Elon Musk's final warning. You're not going to like this. Before we start the video, please like, subscribe, and press the bell icon. Musk has been a staunch advocate for addressing climate change. The carbon cycle refers to the way that carbon, an essential element, naturally moves through the environment. Carbon is transferred between the atmosphere, land, plants, animals, and oceans during this process. First, carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere via several natural processes, including respiration and volcanic eruptions. After being ingested, this CO2 is transformed into oxygen and carbon-based molecules, such as sugars and other organic compounds, by plants during the process of photosynthesis. After eating these plants, animals absorb the carbon and use it in their bodies. The decomposition of these plants and animals' organic matter releases carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere when they die. Because they take in a lot of carbon from the atmosphere, the oceans are important parts of the carbon cycle. Human activity has upset the natural carbon cycle, which has been going on for millions of years and contributes to keeping the atmospheric carbon levels in balance. By burning fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas for energy over the past few centuries, especially since the Industrial Revolution, we have been adding an unprecedented quantity of extra carbon to the atmosphere. The natural carbon cycle has been upset by this human-caused rise in carbon emissions. The oceans and ecosystems' combined potential to absorb carbon dioxide is greatly outweighed by the extra carbon generated by burning fossil fuels. As a result, carbon dioxide builds up in the atmosphere quickly and continuously and is subsequently absorbed by the seas, resulting in a notable rise in carbon levels. There are serious repercussions from this significant increase in atmospheric carbon. Because carbon dioxide is a strong greenhouse gas, it traps heat in the atmosphere of the Earth, warming the globe. The process commonly referred to as climate change or global warming has profound effects on both human societies and the environment. Among other problems, rising temperatures can cause extreme weather events to occur more frequently and intensely, as well as raise sea levels, disturb ecosystems, and endanger food and water supplies. The amount of carbon dioxide in the Earth's atmosphere stayed comparatively constant for millions of years, at about 300 parts per million. For a considerable amount of time, the Earth's climate balance was preserved thanks in large part to this steady carbon content. Nonetheless, atmospheric carbon levels have increased dramatically and unprecedentedly over the past 100 years. Human activity, especially the burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas for industrialization, transportation, and energy generation, is the main cause of the dramatic rise in carbon levels. Because we have relied so heavily on fossil fuels to meet our energy needs, burning them has resulted in the release of large amounts of CO2 into the atmosphere. This excess CO2 from human activity has overwhelmed the natural carbon cycle, which was able to handle carbon emissions in a more balanced way. As a result, the atmospheric concentration of carbon has increased to levels not seen in millions of years, surpassing 400 ppm and still rising. The impact of this extraordinary rise in atmospheric CO2 on the planet's climate is a major reason for concern. As a greenhouse gas, carbon dioxide keeps heat inside the atmosphere of the Earth. The Earth's average temperature rises as a result of an intensified greenhouse effect brought about by rising CO2 and other greenhouse gas concentrations. There is a serious threat to the Earth and its people from global warming. The climate system can be significantly impacted by even little variations in the average temperature. Rising temperatures have several effects, including the melting of glaciers and polar ice caps, which raise sea levels. Consequently, there may be coastal region flooding and a loss of habitat for both species and people. Ecosystems, biodiversity, and many facets of human society are all impacted by the extensive and interrelated effects of global warming. Global initiatives to cut greenhouse gas emissions, switch to sustainable energy sources, and put in place climate-resilient plans to adjust to the changes currently in place are necessary to address this serious challenge. We must accept that the shift away from fossil fuels is an inevitable fact. The Earth's crust contains limited resources that are mined for fossil fuels, including coal, oil, and natural gas. As long as we keep using these non-renewable resources, they will grow harder to find and extract. The expenses and labor involved in extracting these fuels will eventually exceed their advantages. Finding sustainable and alternative energy sources is crucial as the supplies of readily accessible fossil fuels get closer to being depleted. Our current objective is to switch to sustainable and renewable energy sources so that we can have a consistent and long-lasting supply of electricity. Compared to fossil fuels, renewable energy sources have several benefits. The fact that they are naturally renewed and do not eventually run out is one of their biggest advantages. Examples of renewable energy sources that can be used on Earth include hydro, solar, wind, geothermal, and nuclear power. Solar energy uses sunlight as its source, wind energy uses wind currents, and hydroelectric power depends on flowing water. We can significantly lessen our reliance on fossil fuels in regions where natural disasters are not a problem. These energy sources offer conventional energy-producing techniques a sustainable and clean substitute. They emit minimal to no greenhouse gases, which helps to lessen air pollution and the effects of climate change. If you enjoyed this movie thus far, please remember to subscribe to the channel. Postponing the switch from fossil fuels to renewable energy sources is a dangerous move that could have dire repercussions. The world's growing reliance on fossil fuels results in rising greenhouse gas emissions, which exacerbate climate change and global warming. If this problem is not resolved quickly, the consequences could be worse than the destruction brought about by all of the world's conflicts put together. The longer we put off switching to sustainable energy, the more greenhouse gases will be released into the atmosphere, accelerating global warming. More extreme weather, increasing sea levels, habitat loss, ecological disturbance, and a host of other environmental and socio-economic issues are all things we should be prepared for. People who are forcibly displaced as a result of natural catastrophes and changes in the environment are referred to as displaced. Areas vulnerable to flooding, droughts, storms, and other natural calamities become less habitable as a result of climate change intensification. Millions of people could be uprooted as a result, putting a strain on the infrastructure and resources of the receiving regions and triggering humanitarian disasters. A covert subsidy on carbon-producing activities within sound market incentives that are in line with a sustainable future is one factor contributing to the gradual changeover. Externalities like carbon emissions, on the other hand, are not taxed in a sick market, which gives carbon producers unjustifiable profits. We must enact a carbon tax and eliminate this subsidy to address this. One possible option is a revenue-neutral carbon tax, which would raise carbon taxes while lowering other taxes to balance the effects. This methodical approach will prevent abrupt disruptions and enable industries to adapt. Governments need to establish rules that dissuade the production of carbon dioxide and send a strong message. We need to address the unpriced externality and promote the switch to renewable energy sources by implementing a carbon tax to counteract the current system that incentivizes carbon emissions. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more exciting content.